It was a Monday, October 22nd. So fourth period, it was also picture day that day, and fourth period was when we went down to pictures. So class started and we had about 25 minutes before we needed to go downstairs to the gym for pictures. So we did our normal beginning of class stuff, 10 minutes of reading, 3 to 5 minutes of warm up. And as everyone was gathering up to leave the classroom, the student approached me and said, "Miss Guire, I have a video to show you later." And that's not really anything out of the ordinary. My kids have shown me photos of their cats and dogs or videos of their latest cheer competition because they know that I care about them as people and not just students. And so they like to share that personal stuff with me. So I followed him across the room back towards his side of the desk. His backpack was in the corner between his desk and the wall. And so he was bent over, rummaging around in it. I was standing maybe half a foot away from the outside desk in his pair, with my body angled like slightly towards him and then slightly towards the rest of the classroom, because I was keeping an eye on the rest of the students in the room because they were all packing up and filing towards the door. And I remember thinking that whatever it was must have been really awkwardly shaped, that he was struggling that much to get it out of his book bag because it was taking him so long rummaging around in there to get it out. And so I'm not sure if it was right before the bell or at the bell or right after the bell, but it was within a second of the bell ringing that he swung and I felt the impact on my chest. It almost felt like he had punched me. And it took my breath away. So I turned and leaned against a different desk facing the back of the room with my hand on my chest, just trying to catch my breath. And so when I looked up, he had moved into the back corner of the classroom and he was standing there. And that was the first time I saw the knife. And there was like two parts of my brain. There was the part that saw the knife and recognized that it was a knife. And then there was the part that was like, nah, there's no way. And some of the kids behind me started saying, "Oh, it's a gag knife, it's a fake knife." And it was October 22nd. So I'm thinking, okay, it's probably an early Halloween prank, like it's a gag knife, like they were saying. And so like there had to be an impact, so that's why it hurt, but there's no way he actually stabbed me. And so because they were saying that, he stepped forward towards me and held the knife out and smiled at me as he showed me my blood on the tip of the knife. And that was when I started to realize that he had actually stabbed me. So then there were a couple different thoughts going through my head. There was the thought of, I need to put pressure on the wound so I don't bleed out. There was the thought of, I need to find a way to de-escalate the situation and get the knife away from him. And there was the thought that I need to make sure no one else gets hurt, because there were still at least a dozen students in the classroom. Most of them behind me, but some of them were on the other side. So after I had that kind of split-second thought process, I put my hand against the wound to hold pressure, and I looked back up at him. And that was when I realized that he had moved backwards and taken a female student in the grasp of his elbow and had that butcher knife up against her throat. And my eyes caught hers, and the look in her eyes was just sheer terror. And I knew she had to be wondering if she was going to be next. And I will never forget that look. And fortunately, some of the kids had already been able to leave the room and start running for help in a couple different directions. And so I'm in a corner of the building, and I have two colleagues whose doors are across from mine. And so I heard one of them behind me saying, "What's going on?" And so I turned and I just slowly walked towards her. And I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was something to the effect of, "His knife is real. He stabbed me with it. We need to get help." And so then I did actually black out, and I'm not really aware of what happened after that until I heard my second coworker's voice saying that they were going to walk me into her room. And so I couldn't see anything. So the only reason I knew it was her was because I recognized her voice. So they walked me across the hall. I had no idea if the students were still in the room, if he still had the knife. I did not know what was going on because I couldn't see anything. Mm-hmm. So they walked me into her room. I could feel them kind of put the chair up against the back of my legs, and they helped me sit down. And within a second, I blacked out. head rolled back, face apparently went completely white. My coworker thought that I had died in her arms at that moment. And the whole reason that they had walked me across the room was because she was afraid that I was going to die in front of my students. So I don't know how long I was out for. I did come to, obviously, and I could hear her, saying, Jen, come on, wake up, Jen, stay with me, Jen. So after that, it was kind of a whirlwind because there was the AP coming in, there were the paramedics coming in. At one point, the resource officer came in, and I think she had the butcher knife in one of those manila folders, just so that, preserving evidence, whatnot. And she held it out so that I could identify it, like, yes, that is the knife. And so I was told that they had taken him into custody, that all of my other kids were safe. No one else had been harmed.
At all.
Correct. Well, except emotionally.
Right.
But yeah, physically, everyone else was fine. And so they rushed me to Gwinnett Med. If he'd been a little bit stronger or swung at a bit of a different angle, it might be an entirely different story.